Thank you very much, Sirisha, for organizing this event, and colleague from UK, Mr. Ferdy D'Souza. Ferdy, can you wave your hand? Yeah. So Ferdy is in London, so of course it's early morning for him. What is the time right now, Ferdy, for you? 10ish?
It's 10:30.
Yeah, 10:30. Yeah, great. So thanks for joining in. We are an OD consulting firm, organization development. We operate from India, UK, Thailand, and Philippines. And we have been in the personal transformation and organizational transformation for almost 30 years now. Ferdy D'Souza here was also you can say, the person responsible for building a landmark education in India, which is the world's largest personal transformation conversation. And now, of course, he's settled in UK for the last almost 2 decades, definitely more than 15 years. And we have been working with organizations now. And as Sirisha mentioned, we're working with Theory U of Dr. Otto Scharmer from MIT, which is arguably the world's most important leadership and change management conversation on the planet right now. My colleague Vivek Chopra from Delhi has also joined in. Hey, Vivek, can you wave your hand? Yeah, thank you. And we have been doing this work with TheoryU for the last 7-8 years. Some of the companies that we have also been working with includes TCS and many, like Sirisha mentioned, people from more than 30 industries. In Bangalore, we have had the opportunity to work with Karnataka Lok Ayukta. We did a very special workshop for them. Most of you know that is one of the most active Lok Ayukta in the country, at least as far as the media is concerned. We did workshops for CREDAI, and also we had participants from a lot of organizations, for profit organizations, but also from Art of Living. For their corporate wing. So we're using this technology to make a impact not only in organizations, but also through organizations in the society. Today's topic is creating future-ready organization. So we are using Theory U from the context of creating future-ready organization. And the subtitle of this is creating organizations where people bring their head, heart, and soul. So that's going to be the next conversation for the next 85 minutes approximately. But before we go ahead, I would like to give you a chance to introduce yourselves, please. And you could also share what interested you to come here, right? And invest your time in this session here. So you can say a line or two about yourself and also what attracted you, interested you to be here. Over to you. Just unmute and introduce yourself. And some of you, if you want to introduce yourself, chat, that's also fine. Go ahead. Who would like to start?
I will start first. I'm the president of
Bangalore
Management Association. My name is K.S. Narayan Swamy. I'm in the corporate sector for over 4 decades. And started my career with the public sector and later into various multinationals, including ITC, Advanta, then Remagrain, and companies like that. And currently, I'm an entrepreneur. I started 2 companies of my own. One is GeoBiotech. The other one is the Prisi Fortune Infra Private Limited. In addition to that, I also, in addition to the president of BMA, I'm the director in the Agriculture University, Bangalore, heading the Agri Invention Center, and also the chairman for restructuring of National Seeds Corporation, Government of India. And of course, I'm very active in so many other organizations like NSCI, National Seed Association of India, Karnataka State Seed Association, Karnataka Maize Development Association, etc. So I'm associated with BMA for 30 years now.
Wow.
So this is my term as the president for last 2 years. I welcome all of you for this session, and I give an opportunity to others to introduce and start the program today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Let me introduce myself, sir. I'm Dr.
Yes,
Bhavani.
please. Yeah.
I'm a professor in the School of Commerce and Management at Chanakya University. I have been teaching strategy and leadership for over 2 decades now.
Wow.
Also been practicing it through small consultancy. And I was very much impressed with especially the change management, which is a very, very difficult task to make. So that's why I'm here to hear more from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Hello,
sir. Good evening.
Yeah, Shivkarni, go ahead. And everybody else, it will be great if you can get your videos on. And those of you who joined in late, welcome once again. Yeah, over to you,
Good
Shivkarni.
evening, sir. I'm Dr. Sivakami from Mount Carmel College. I head the Department of Postgraduate Studies in Commerce in the teaching field for the past 20 years. And as ma'am just mentioned, Bhavani ma'am knows me. Ma'am has been our institution also. So change management is one which all of us are looking forward, and educational institutions all the more. I think it's a need of the hour. So the concept is new, and I do a lot of OB and other related HR related subjects for my students to keep them a little more industry ready. We can't keep everybody 100% ready, but at least to give them a little bit of hands-on experience and give them a better understanding of their job profile. I felt this session should be really very helpful for us. That's it, sir. Thank you so much. And I would like to thank Narayana Swami sir for sharing the link with me and helping us to join. I'm also a All India Management Association member and an AMT accredited teacher as well. Thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
I will take the opportunity. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, Dr. Subhadeep. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for giving this opportunity. I'm Dr. Subhadeep from Ramaya University of Applied Sciences. And I'd like to thank Narayan Swami sir for giving the opportunity to attend. We got your invitation link to attend this program. And I'm teaching the subject like HR and strategic HR and human resource management for MBA, BBA, and as well as the PhD guidance into human resource area only in Ramaya University. So I have a very good expectation to learn current trends of leadership outcomes through the corporate exposure. Currently, I'm attending Vibrant Gujarat. I'm talking from Gujarat itself, from Gandhi.
Welcome.
We'll be meeting tomorrow a lot of leadership here in Vibrant Gujarat. But yes, it will be a great exposure virtually to meet my Bangalore leaders to get comes into that. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
I would like to come.
Go ahead.
Namaskar to one and all. This is Dr. Madhurani Gowda. I am one of the managing committee member of Bangalore Management Association. And apart from that, I'm a trainer, transformational trainer. I work on 3 verticals: training, counseling, and on youth. I'm also recognized as a youth activist. So we are into soft skills training from over 2 decades, making them future ready, as others were mentioning about. We work on engineering, MBA college, and corporate sector. Apart from that, I'm a past president of Rotary and present director of Federation of Karnataka Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Thank you. Nice connecting with all the butterflies of management. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Who would like to be the next person to go ahead?
I'm Mohan.
Yes.
I used to be on the board of Bharat Petroleum and retired about a decade ago. Since then, I've been teaching strategy, human resources, change management at several institutes. Currently, I'm engaged in some consultancy work. Thank you. And by the way, I was past president of Bombay Management Association when I was there.
Okay, fantastic. Great. Okay. Everybody, can you get your videos on? This is my last request. I don't want to repeat the same thing again. Yes, Mr. Harish or Smita Madam, anybody would like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, this is Harish here. And see, I'm a member of the AMA for a long time. But I don't join all the invites I get. Currently, I am heading the business development for a company called 3 Keys. And we are into track and trace software for pharma regulations compliance. So my interest was like there's a lot of jargon in the market: X generation, Z generation, millennials, this, that. So I thought, okay, let me see what is this U. What is this U-turn or inverted U, or what kind of U is this?
Right.
And then the other aspect is like all these models come with a certain, prefixed parameters. And then the more important thing from getting, achieving out of this for any organization or human being is like how to apply it to that particular human being or that organization. And
True.
apply it, then you really come to know the model works or does not work, or what modifications are required.
Right.
So I've joined more for my personal interest than, my organization doesn't need it. We are a very nimble global organization of about 200 people spread across the globe. But we are very flexible and agile, and we are working in an area which is, required for the compliance, and that is it. But I joined more for my interest.
Perfect.
What I can learn from it, and maybe if required, I can apply it somewhere.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Smita Bennett, and I am the co-founder of the Big Energy Solutions. It is a Bangalore-based company, and it is like we are in the field of energy and sustainability. We are conducting energy audits, electrical safety audits, and a sustainable area. We are conducting green auditing and everything for the entire organization all over the India. So the reason why I am joining I am a part of the AMA, and why I joined means what are the input I am getting from this talk, so that I can implement in my organization, because we are in a startup and 20 plus employees are there. So each tip is helpful for me to implement in my organization for a sustainable organization. So we are in the field of sustainable learning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going to request everybody else if you would like to introduce yourself, do so on the chat. Given the limited time, I think we'll move on otherwise. I'm just going to share a couple of screens here, and then we're going to have interaction. So as I said earlier, the context is creating future-ready organizations, and creating organizations where people bring their head, heart, and soul. So we do work with this theme with organizations, and also we have collaboration with Ahmedabad Management Association, and we are mentors for the CEO Forum, and we have been doing masterclasses and 2-day workshops and interventions with them for their members here in Ahmedabad and Gujarat. Actually, they have been able to get participants from all over the place, including Bangalore, for their workshops. So this is Dr. Otto Scharmer of MIT. Some of you can maybe knowing more about him and can discover him on Google, of course. He's been having very special awards, and he's part of the UN Learning Advisory Council. He's been involved in training more than a big number of, I think around 1,000 plus UN leaders, and is part of various global forums. And he and Peter Senghi have been working together for last 3-4 decades. Peter Senghi, as you know, he is the person who brought in systems thinking to the corporate world. That's how we know him. And he's famous for his work on organizational learning and the 5th discipline. Dr. Otto Scharmer actually joined MIT because he wanted to work with Peter Senghi. And he's working on this model of theory U. U as in alphabet U. And it's a matrix, it's a method, and it's a movement. And it's a matrix for leadership and change management. It's also a method of involving multiple stakeholders in the change management process. And it's also a movement because it's breaking the leadership hierarchy and actually working on a concept called ABCA, which is awareness-based collective action. There's a lot of aspects of theory U, but here what we are working on, by the way, these are some of the books that are available from him. And if you are interested, we will share this slide with you later on. And these are the companies worldwide who have been using theory U for long time. And they've also been involved in promoting it in the corporate world. So let me just take you through. Yeah, so for the first question is, what is a future-ready organization? And given that future is ever-changing, what are the parameters for evaluating the future readiness of an organization, especially from a leadership and culture perspective? So I'm going to open that floor for you. So what do you think? What are the parameters to evaluate the future readiness of an organization? Okay, and especially we're talking from the context of leadership and change management. So let's hear some responses from you. And then what we are going to do is we're going to take you through some questions to reflect on. Okay, but let's hear from you. What do you think are the parameters for future readiness of an organization? What should we evaluate an organization on?
What should be on the technological advancement on the change adaptation? That is should be the first, I think, because as our country is focusing on to the digital change, so how we are adapting this digital era and into our work management, that first we should adapt one of the factor.
Okay.
And the second, the workforce diversification, what we have in our organization, and how they are ready to accept the challenges, what the global market is going to give it to us, to expand our umbrella to beyond our comfort zone, that can also give a benchmark for the organization readiness. These are the two main factors which I personally feel.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Yes, somebody else?
Yeah,
I suppose
adapting
Sorry.
onto the change, adapting to the requirement of the technological advancements and the dynamically changing ecosystem, we also have to concentrate on the change management, which is very crucial, and also the risk management. If the leadership can evaluate this better, then the change becomes automatic. Otherwise, it becomes a chaos.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Yes, Dr. Bhavani?
Yeah, I was looking at how the envisioning process happens in an organization, trying to understand the kind of futuristic vision of an organization, how the communication takes place. Because when we talk about culture, I suppose it takes a long time for a culture to become dynamic yet grounded. So I think some of the parameters is about the kind of changing hybrid workforce, the kind of leadership challenges that you will see in a very diversified workforce, staying in different parts of the globe, but still trying to deliver in a particular place.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. One more person. Anybody? Okay, so this is the problem, right? Now your videos are off, so we don't know whether you're here or somewhere else. So if you can get your videos on, it really works. I know some people have difficulty, but everybody else keep your videos on, please. It's very difficult to have an interaction with a blank screen. Okay, so now what we want to do is we're going to take you through some questions. And we invite you to reflect on those questions and then score the organization that you're working with on a scale of -5 to +5. Okay, and the scoring in itself is not critical, but just the reflection process itself will help. But please do score. We are not going to ask you to share anything with us. This is confidential. You can keep it, the scores with you, and just write down the question number and this thing. This whole self-assessment tool is available to you. It has already been, the link has already been shared with you in the meeting invite. And if you need, we will send it again to you. We are using some of those questions right now here, but the self-assessment tool has 16 questions, which has already been shared with you and can be shared with you again. Okay, but right now for this discussion, we're going to use some of them. And I'm going to share the screen again. And okay, let me know when you can see the screen. You can see the screen, I believe. Okay. Okay, so let's go. Yeah, so the first question or a statement, and you can, as I said, you can rate your organization on a scale of -5 to +5. And I'm going to read out loud for everybody's benefit. Our leadership team actively listens to diverse perspectives within the organization. Okay, so you don't need to write the questions. These are all available with you. I just write the answer, the rating. Okay. Very open. So this is about your leadership team as well as your organization. Very open to understanding and incorporating viewpoints that challenge our current assumptions. And again, as I said, this is confidential. You're going to keep it with yourself. Okay. Our team has a good sense of the changes happening in the industry, and it frequently works proactively to adapt to those changes. We encourage experimentation and learning from failure to enhance our adaptability. I read somewhere the test of our commitment to innovation is our organization's relationship to failure. Okay, those who are joining in now, we are doing a self-assessment, and you can rate your organization on the points that are coming up on the screen on a scale of -5 to +5. And we will be with you very soon. Okay, next. We often look at our organization from the perspective of employees, customers, and other stakeholders. We call this turning the camera around. We prioritize and invest in the continuous learning and skill development of our team members. Okay. Last two questions. We are a future-ready organization, listening and sensing the emerging future, and are in perfect dance with it. This is how you evaluate yourself. Again, on a scale of -5 to +5. And the last question. we are a future-ready organization where almost everyone brings their full self, their head, the heart, and soul to the organization and its work. Somebody, you have some background noise, if you can go on mute. Okay, so let's stop the screen sharing here. And okay, I just muted everybody because there was some background noise. Please unmute yourself when you want to speak, and then, of course, you can go back on mute. Okay, so these are some of the sample questions from the self-assessment tool that we have shared with you. So let's have some reflections on the questions and whatever scorings you would have done. Anything that you want to share from there before we go ahead?
Yeah, these are the very basic and very important questions that we should focus on while we are doing some self-assessment in terms of individual level or the organizational level. And first 4 questions, which I personally felt that whenever we are working in an organization or as a owner of an organization, when we are running any body,
Right.
these are the very basic factors we should understand from vice versa relationship from both the employees and the owners. That will
Right.
reflect your leadership strategy, what you are going to run your organization. That is very much important, I felt.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Yes.
I also see that this has both an inside out and an outside in approach.
Yes.
I think communication being the key to success with the change management.
Great. Yes. Thank you very much. One more person. Okay. So then the question is, here, one second. What are the competencies required for an organization to be future ready? Right? And across the hierarchy, what are the competencies required across hierarchy for an organization to be future ready? Anybody?
Being proactive.
Yes, thank you. Somebody else?
Everybody should be on the same page.
Okay. And but see, that would be like an end result, right? Everybody being on the same page would be like an end result to have or an interim result to have. But what will get us on the same page? Because I think if everybody's on the same page, that would be like a very good thing, a very good place to be. But what will cause it?
Clear
The main
communication.
Savita and then Dr. Subhadeep. Subhadeep. Yeah, Savita, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the communication that plays a major role.
Okay, great. Thank you. Dr. Subhadeep.
Yeah, competition is there, but I personally feel the sharing of vision and expectation within the work environment, within the business, that can scale up to the future ready organization, because we are thinking the expectation and vision should be aligned when we are framing any policies or when we are structuring the business for the future ready. So bottom to top and top to bottom, that expectation and vision should be shared equally. Then we can come into.
Okay. But what is the competency that will allow us to do that? What you're saying is perfectly valid. We are just looking at what is the competency required across the organization to make that happen, right? Because I'm sure many of us would want that to happen, but then there are some obstacles.
Yeah, obviously the
acceptance is also
it is the commitment of the top management.
Okay, got that. Hey, Funny Kumar, did you?
Yeah, it's a business expansion should be there. That is the main thing. Day to do the business expansion.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you help me connect with the question? What I was looking at is across the hierarchy, what kind of competencies are required? Everybody, can you go on mute? There's some echo.
So
Not echo, but some background noise. Yeah,
hello, this
Rajiv,
is yeah, I have some network issues. Adaptability will be the main competency as per me.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
One,
Thanks. Yes, Dr. Anand.
Transparency or openness, I think, is required when we look at across the organization kind of a flow to enable things. I think everybody should be open to share views, talk. So unless people know what the other person's intention is, both the top or the the middle or the lower management, I think people will not be able to understand why this change is happening. So I would say transparency and openness can be one of the competencies altogether.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure we would call it as a competency, but definitely that I think we can call it like a culture.
Culture or
right?
a quality.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. It is a characteristic that you want in the organization.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But may not. Yeah, but I think that's fine. We understand the spirit of it. Okay. I think most of you are going the right direction. Let me just share how I see it.
One thing.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Maybe and that probably could be the starting point also. You see, we might have underlying competencies and everything, but if we are not able to paint the future, if you are not able to articulate like where are we today and what direction the marketplace or the world is going to, and you are not able to specify, like, describe what is going to change, and then whatever you have underneath is not going to work, because if you don't know where the change is going, leading us to, then all these competencies also don't have any utility.
Right.
So because that could be the starting point, and depends on the need for the change, like how is it an emergency, or like, say between 2020 January and today we are in 24 January, 3 years have passed, or 4 years you can say.
Yeah.
3 years have passed, and we have seen one emergency in this country, and not only in this country, around the world, and how different countries responded to it. And because there were emergency responses from several stakeholders, and you can say like, okay, we were successful in many ways. But it also depends, like, why do you need to, what is the change, like what is happening, why do you have to change? Because unless that part is not painted properly, getting everybody on the same page and communication is also, dependent on that. I say, for example, you mentioned so many of your clients, like, and they are huge companies. Say, for example, Google was there and many more. UNDP was there. So the question is, like, say for example, that there was one statement about 7-8 years ago I read somewhere, or I came across. Microsoft said that yes, we missed the opportunity because we did not develop an operating system for mobile.
Right.
Now, it's not that the Microsoft is not sensing, that would be foolhardy to say that.
Yeah.
But whatever sensing you do, there is always a chance that you will miss certain opportunities.
Right.
Because then this is not only about this is not about one instance I am saying, and there's a second instance, like, you know, when I met a few executives from what you call Pepsi, and they were not, I won't say they were at the C level, but whatever was their level, they had good knowledge of the cola market, beverages, and they said we don't have to set any targets as a, you know, because we are number 2 and Coca-Cola is number 1. We have to just chase them across the world, and that is how we can live through it. So, you know, that's a different culture altogether, because if I'm going to chase who is the first, then it is all right. I don't have to, I just need to keep on adapting to them. So, you know, that talks about the culture as well. And and my conversation like happened around, you know, 20 years back, or even 22 years back. And even today, Pepsi Cola is number 2. and you have not seen any, you know, well, I'm not following beverages markets in that extent, to that extent.
Yeah.
But look at the market and the beverages, like Red Bull came as an energy drink, but I don't think Red Bull came because of Pepsi Cola.
Yeah.
That's an entirely different, you know, offering, and different company altogether. Doesn't belong to Coke also, I think. And so, you know, in snack food also, I don't think we take a lot of pride that in Indra Nui, because she was the CEO and then Indian. But what innovation happened there, we don't know about. And they are still number 2. We can look at their country markets. Probably Pepsi did very well.
I think let me interrupt you here. Sorry for that. I got the main point here is, what is the disruption happening, and are you really willing to see the disruption? And 2 things I would say, the way I look at it is, are you going to be the disruptor, or are you the one who is going to be disrupted? And that's the choice. Fadi used to say it in a very unique way. By the way, for the people who joined in late, I have my colleague from UK, Fadi D'Souza, also here. And he used to say this, it's like if you are surfing in the ocean and the wave is going to come. Now, the choice is not whether the wave is going to come or not. The choice is, are you going to sense the wave at the right time and ride the wave, or are you going to get disrupted by the wave? So and that was like a very important part for all of us to understand. And all of us have enough stories about big, successful organizations who had great market shares, great financial power, great management power, and they still got disrupted. Right? All of us have enough and more examples of that. So then what is it that gets us stuck? So a couple of things that we want to introduce you here from Theory U and what Dr. Otto Sharma talks about. One is that most of us have been programmed to learn from the past. So whenever we have to learn, we are looking at some data points, some experiences, some stuff that has already happened. And then we are trying to analyze and get some insights from here, and then try to apply it to something else. Right? Including all these models and frameworks that we study, most of them are all about learning from the past. But given the speed of change all of us are now experiencing, including the disruptions that Mr. Harish talked about, learning from the past is not enough. None of our industries, whichever industry we are in, even if we are in higher education, none of the industries are going to look the same 5 years from now the way they are looking right now. So we need to create a new competency, I would say, to learn from the future instead of learning from the past. Learning from the future as it emerges. You cannot learn from the future because it's not there, but you can learn from the future as it emerges. So the fundamental competency that we are talking about is learning from the future as it emerges. So that's one dimension of it. And we use a lot of tools and exercises to develop a deeper understanding of it. But that's the main game, to create that kind of orientation in the company where we are continuously, individually and collectively, learning from the future as it emerges. There are other competencies that we talk about inside of this meta competency. I call them the basic 6. I'm just going to share that screen again. Let me know if you can see the screen. And as our colleague mentioned, these are basic. This is the starting point, right? So the first one we call is deep listening. We're going to look into what is deep listening. We'll spend some time on that right now on this call. And then sensing, sense making. Like these are the foundation 3. And then building on them, the next 3 is connecting, collaborating, and co-creating. So I call this the basic 6: deep listening, sensing, sense making, connecting, collaborating, and co-creating. Now, what's the big deal about this is, or what is the biggest problem with, let's say some of you said communication is important, right? What is the biggest problem with communication? Is the illusion that the communication is happening. In the same way, when we say deep listening, what is the biggest problem in listening? The problem in listening is all of us are human beings. By the way, now almost all screens are off, and it is really not a great sight for me. So if you can please get your screens on again. I know we are in the mid of your working day, but it really becomes difficult to interact with you, right? And we don't have a lecture to give. Okay. So please keep your videos on and interact. So as a leadership quality, the most fundamental leadership quality is listening. And the problem is we are all human beings. What's the problem? If you really go deeper, you will find out human beings are not designed for listening. And I'm not talking about you or me or any particular person. Human beings are not designed for listening. If you go back to the, we can argue, but if you go back even to the development of human species on the planet, you will realize that the whole job of the human being was to listen to something and then make a judgment. Is this a safe situation? Is this a difficult situation? So consider that human beings are not designed for listening. None of you, none of us, nobody, right? So we don't have to worry about that. So it's not that you are better listener, I am better listener. It's irrelevant. We are all human beings. Whether you are in a senior position, junior position, doesn't matter. We are all human beings. We are not designed for listening. Once you get that, then you have a lot of opportunities. And we see that then what are we designed for? Actually, we are designed for judgment. You listen something and you have to make a judgment. Oh, is this a safe situation? Is this an unsafe situation? That's how humanity has evolved. So we consider that we are all programmed for opinions and judgments. By the way, some of you can even catch some opinions and judgment going on as we are having this conversation. Okay. So, and it's not wrong. And that's how we are programmed. There is nothing wrong with that. That's the design, right? So, but the noticing that we are all opinions and judgment, that's all. Like we say in our workshop, we are watching a movie, and the name of that movie is My Opinion. All of us are watching a movie. All of us are watching the movie, and it has the same name. Of course, the movie is different, but it has the same name. It's called My Opinion. We're never watching the movie called reality. There's no such movie. There's no such movie on the planet called reality. There's only one movie on the planet, and that's called My Opinion. And that's what we are watching. Now, inside of My Opinion, what is the chance for listening to the future? Only that which matches my opinion. So why would a Xerox company not change when they had the biggest research center, the smartest research center? Why would Nokia not change? Why would BlackBerry not change? Why would General Motors get into trouble? Why? Because we get seduced. The more successful we are, we get seduced in listening to our own opinions, our own plans, our own visions. But universe doesn't care about our opinions and plans. The waves don't care, are you ready for the wave or not? Right? As Fadi says, the waves will come. And either you can sense the wave or you're going to get disrupted. It won't be a pretty picture. So consider that organizations, as they become successful, they lose their capacity to go beyond this movie called My Opinion. They get more and more seduced into that opinion, that world. And you see this, the more successful your organization is, more senior the leaders are, and they have accomplished. Many of them, of course, nothing is true for everybody, right? But you will see the tendency to get seduced in their own thoughts, own plans, own ambitions, own dreams. We will create the operating system. We will launch the next car, and we will do this. Like Mr. Harish was saying, oh, we will compete with Coke. Oh, what's happening to the whole industry? Maybe actually the world doesn't even want to have cola. And maybe they should ban cola the way they ban drugs. Whatever, we don't know. The whole point is we are in our head. The other way to say that, as we as leaders, and of course, this applies not only for us as leaders, it applies to us as human beings. Consider we live in our head. And the future is not going to emerge in our head. So the readiness of our organization depends on our ability to get out of our head. Not just individually, but collectively. And not at one level across the hierarchy. So the whole game is to, can you get out of your head? Are you willing to get out of your head? Do you see the need to get out of your head? And like somebody pointed out, this has to be a balance on inside out and outside in. We call it turning the camera around. Are you willing to see your organization from the eyes of the customers, from the eyes of the non-customers, from the eyes of other stakeholders? And then what do you see from that place? How do you see the organization from multiple perspectives, especially people who don't agree with you? So that's the beginning. So the first step that we want to look at is how do we listen? Like deep listening we're talking about. There are multiple phases of this deep listening, and I intend to introduce them. But the first phase is that we are all human beings, and human beings are not designed for listening. It's not, I'm not saying you're not designed for listening or I am not designed for listening. I am saying human beings are not designed for listening. Okay. And I know many of us wanted to be Pentium 25 or whatever else, but we are all human beings. So this applies to us. Now, then we look at, okay, if we can begin to notice, how do you get out of this trap of that we are wired for opinion and judgment and not for listening is to notice the opinion and judgment, right? And then to move to a level, the second level of listening that we talk about is how do we move to factual listening? So instead of listening from the world of opinion and judgment, how do we move to factual listening? And what is factual listening? Factual listening is data, right? But what kind of data? Listening to contradictory data. How good are we as an organization to listen and discover data which contradicts our current understanding? How many people in the organization are coming up with contradictory data to our current logic? And how do we listen to them? Do we even have those kind of people in the organization? How do we listen to them? What do we do with them? In most cases, they get marginalized. Like an employee who keeps on bringing in that kind of contradictory data, they are labeled sometimes as troublemakers. What about the customers? What about other people who can help us bring contradictory data? So the factual listening starts with a commitment to discover contradictory data to our current understanding, to our current logic, to our current theory. So consider future readiness starts with what is the culture that we have to committedly discover contradictory data, and how we process that. Okay, so I would say that as an important dimension here. And the second thing that I want to talk about is empathic listening. So there are two listenings that we want to talk about here. One is the factual listening, which is discovering new data. And second is empathic listening. Empathic listening, the word empathy is highly used, so it's become a problem, but still, empathic listening is realizing that when somebody is saying something different, consider they are saying something different because they are seeing something different. And you can't understand what they are saying till the time you can see what they are seeing. And for us to understand what they're saying, we have to get out of our world, out of our reality, to be able to see what they are seeing. Now, we may not agree with them. What they may say may or may not be perfect. They're also human beings. So nobody's saying that they are God. They are as God as we are, and vice versa. The whole point is, can we get out of our reality? Can we get out of our worldview and see what others are seeing? So we say only when you can see what they are seeing, you can get what they are saying. And it begins with at every level. It begins with your employees, it begins with your leadership team, in the senior leadership team, it begins with the customers, it begins with the vendors, it's everywhere, right? Are we going out of our reality to see what they are seeing, to get a deeper understanding of what they are saying? So this is the beginning conversation that we do when in our interventions is, one is discovering and the world that we are, as human beings, we are not designed for listening, and then training ourselves for factual listening, committedly discovering contradictory data. And second is committedly discovering what others are seeing, which is making them say something different, right? So that's the whole world of empathic listening. And when you actually practice that gets you a profound connection with those people. So before we go ahead, let me pause here and give you a chance to reflect on these or ask questions. And Dr. Shivakami, I am reading your question and I'm going to respond to that. But in the meanwhile, anybody else? So your question is how much of this can be made applicable to an educational institution? Oh, that's our favorite topic. I will respond to this. Okay. Give me a second. In the meanwhile, anybody else? You want to make some comments from what are you getting in this conversation? Any insights, any questions? Okay.
I think Devang has a question.
Sorry?
Devang Patel has a question on chat.
Oh, I can't see that. I think he has marked it to you.
No,
Okay, let me just check.
to
Oh,
everyone.
yeah. Yeah, but when we as leaders are overclouded with our own realities and our own loadings of past success, how does one do factual and empathic listening? I think you are answering yourself. I'll respond to that, of course. Dr. Ananda, how do we nurture a culture of deep listening in the organization? Yes. Okay, great. So let me respond to these three questions, and I will start with Dr. Sivakami's question. And everybody, can you get your videos on Dr. Sivakami and Devang and Dr. Anand? Yeah, so we have been working with educational institutions, more so with the K-12 and a little bit with the higher education. We have had professors from various colleges, including a department head from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, participating, and we have been in talks with many other education institutions, including some of the trustees in Bangalore. We don't want to name them right now, but they have been in conversation. So I see this at a multiple level. So let's say, consider that the world of the trustees and the top management is a very different world than the trustees than the world of the professors. And within the professors and the academic staff, again, there are many different levels and different worlds that people live in. And then the non-academic staff, and then the students, and then the industry. So there are many stakeholders, each of them, and then parents, and each of them have a different worldview. And unless we can develop the ability to see each other's worldview, we are not going to be on the same page. Okay, so I'll answer this question, but before that, let me just share an example from an education institution. But this was K-12, but it's still a very valuable example. We did this workshops. We did a series of workshops with them, and we trained them to listen to the stakeholders and get the world of the stakeholders. So we asked them to do certain structured interviews that we have with academic staff, non-academic staff, and academic staff across various parts. And then we also got them to interact with parents and students. At the end of the whole exercise, when we were taking reflection from them, they said, we thought we are the best school in town. But we had no idea that our stakeholders have these expectations from us. Right? So I think that's true for every organization. Trustees are not in the world of the professors and the faculties are not in the world of the trustees, and nobody's in the world of the students. And we are not in each other's world. And if we want to co-create a future, the future that needs to get co-created, in my interpretation, is a future which everybody is inspired by and aligned by, right? We cannot co-create that future if we all remain in our own world. Right? So definitely, like this organization that we started, we did the workshop, an open workshop where they participated. There were 5 of them, main trustees. And then we did a workshop with the 27 leadership team. And then they actually in turn trained like they have some 1,600 staff, and I'm told that they try to train everybody. So they're creating the new culture there. Internally, they did the training. But, and then we have been doing some reinforcements with them, all that. This is where they are. This is the whole game, to be continuously able to get into the world of a world of various stakeholders, right? So where do you start? I think unfortunately some of the things have to start at the top. Right?
Some
Now,
at the top and maybe some at the ground level also, sir. If I
ground
may say.
level, yeah.
And the,
See,
no, basically the trust that has to be created between us is more important. You standing for your organization standing for you.
Yes.
Reciprocation of every single field is actually important. So standing by, yes, my workforce will do what I say and my management will support my initiative, and that between your colleagues and peers is also equal.
Yeah.
Feel that. Because when there is an introduction of change, it's like, okay, she or he is introducing, so why should I basically, and there is a comment and it's quite cynical and things go very on a dirty side of the thing. So that's what I feel.
Yes.
Maybe the trust and what we should focus, as you say, painting of the future is more important rather than looking into all these bitter feelings.
No, you can't paint the picture of the future unless we are into each other's world. We won't be able to
Yes, sir.
co-create a
Just
future.
starting with that basic understanding and we start looking at that picture a little more deeper and clearer.
Yeah. So see, there are two, three levels here, right? One is if you're looking from an organization transformation perspective, right? Then of course, starting from the top makes a difference, right? But if you're looking at, like, for example, students and how we can equip them, right? Then of course they can get trained in a separate context without the compulsory involvement of the organization transformation. Okay, I'll just give you another example from the corporate world. We worked with a company in Thailand. It is a 60-year-old organization. And there were a lot of staff members there who had some 25 to 30 years of experience in that company. And this MD, who was a third generation MD, he himself was 42 years old, right? So imagine he is working and trying to get work done through teams who are 25 to 30 years of experience in that company. So we started there and we trained the senior team first. Top 3 directors got trained first, then the 13 leadership team members, and then the whole organization. It was a small organization. And we use this continuous training to create a new culture. And earlier, when we used to talk to them about, oh, we need to innovate, we need to do this, they were like, yeah. But then as they went through these exercises and they started going out and interacting with the industry, with the customers, when the production people went out, when the other people started going out, interacting with each other, going into each other's field, the whole environment shifted. And after 3 years, they got awarded by their prime minister as the best managed small and medium enterprise. And after that, every year, they have been able to get some very top national awards, so much so that now the MD himself has become a speaker on the circuit, sharing from his company's experience. Okay, so it's possible to turn around, but if you are asking from an organization transformation perspective, we don't work with organizations where the top management is not involved in the journey. Okay, otherwise it is more like, okay, educational. And it's not, and you said one thing that I would like to highlight. You said, oh, it is this person's initiative, it's that person's initiative. We have to eliminate that. It has, and that's the whole journey where people can get out of this person's or that person's initiative to actually being able to co-create that initiative. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. We might be able to talk, but that's a lot of work that we do in transforming, identifying that culture and transforming those aspects of the culture.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we had Dr. Anand and Devang, right, had asked the question. So Devang, is this also responding to your question? Okay, thank you. And Dr. Anand.
30 seconds.
Yeah, Devan, go ahead. Devan, go ahead.
It is actually sort of, but
Hmm.
I'm in bipolar situation. If I am the leader who is blinded, so I'm getting my answer while asking. It needs an external intervention for me to be punctured somewhere in my psyche and being told that I'm clouded, because I am myself not realizing that I'm clouded. That is where I'm coming from. So
Yeah.
that's
So, yeah, I get you. I get you. So what we do, suppose you are the leader, Deva, right? So what we do is we don't need to kind of coach you or process you in any way. We will train you in certain exercises wherein you will be interacting with various stakeholders. And as you interact with those stakeholders using the structures that we have through 3RU, you will get an opportunity to reflect on the various dimensions. And then suppose, for example, we are asking, okay, you interviewed these people. What are the contradictory data that you're discovering? See, the whole point is to bring in the discipline to train ourselves to listen for contradictory data, to first read, right? Second is, what are the different worldviews you're getting? How does this group of people or this individual see the world, which is different from the way you see the world? So one aspect of expanding our leadership is to realize that each one of us sees the world differently. But we assume that others see the world our way. Right? So we have an expectation, hey, this is simple, why can't you understand? And they also have a simple, same expectation. Oh, I can see it, why don't you get it? But we can't get each other's world because we are living in completely different world. So that the whole training and the structures that we use allows us to get into the world of the other stakeholders. Right? Whether the stakeholder is a team member or a customer or other vendor or even others, right? And the more, that's where you kind of expand your horizon. Yeah. So Devang, am I adding some value for you? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Anand, some part of the question answered and for you?
Yeah, some part is answered because we started this journey by saying theory of you and change management. And when we look at the whole concept of the competencies, that's where I would like you to help me to say, okay, because remember, we start with deep listening. So it starts there. The co-creation, collaboration, all of that is an outcome of all of that in the beginning. So I would say, is there anything that you have done or worked with and you found, okay, these are the 5 things which should definitely be done, to kind of start that culture?
You are right. Deep listening is the beginning, is the starting point. Okay. Without that, there is nothing else to do, right? Because everything else is just knowledge. All of us have enough and more knowledge, and we can write enough and more books. But the real point is, what is the level of actual listening that we are able to bring in the conversation, right? And then how does it show up in the culture that we build? So we can go there. But what is your question? Are you looking at what is exactly is the U model? Is that what you're looking at? What is the question?
So when you say deep listening, right? And
yes.
So my point is, how do you arrive at that point for an organization? That's all my question is.
Okay.
So right now, as Mr. Devang said, in his scenario, we are not listening at all. In fact, I am not even listening to myself sometimes. That's how the whole thing is. Sometimes I have some views, sometimes I have some other views, and for other people's views, I'm not even listening. So with that chaos which is happening, to your point where we say start with deep listening, what is that bridge? How do you cross that bridge is my question.
Okay. So when we train ourselves and the team in these 3 tools, 3 practices, which is what we call as a factual listening, empathic listening, and then there is another version called generative listening. So inside of that, there are certain practices. Like, for example, there is an exercise called empathy walk, and there is another exercise called stakeholder interview. Right? So when people are trained and they actually do empathy walk. So for example, we ask company, when we are working with companies, that they do empathy walk with X number of people, depending on where they are in the organization, right? And or they keep on doing an empathy walk, 2 empathy walks a week or something like that. And then they do stakeholder interviews with various groups of people. And then they come back and share. So slowly, as they start sharing, you see the walls between them start to dissolve, and they start to develop a space where that openness comes in. Right? That is, so it's like it won't happen for one person, but it will happen inside of a group of people practicing and coming back and sharing from that. So that's where the whole space opens up. Okay, and then once so that is one level, and then the other aspect is we looked at the culture aspect of it. And so let me just go into it a little bit. So one is the one-to-one or one-to-many conversation, but then there is also what happens in organizations at meeting level, at the level of meetings, at the level of group discussions. So most of the organizations in the world, nothing Indian about it, this is a global phenomena. Most of the organizations in the world operate at a field of conversation or culture, which we call as a talk nice culture. What we mean by a talk nice culture is in the official meeting, people don't want to rock the boat. They will say some things, but if they find that this is not being accepted by the powers to be, then they will control themselves. So over a period of time, there is some kind of going along with it. Like Fadi likes to say, yes, sir, yes, sir. It becomes ultimately in that direction, right? So again, the contradictory voice get muffled out. And the ultimately the leader or the small group of leaders, they decide what is there. Everybody else pretends to be aligned. But when after two weeks or 2 months, they come back, they realize that that alignment did not can translate into any real results. So then the managers will say, hey, everybody was aligned. What happened? No, they were not aligned. They just didn't have motivation to argue with you. Right? So there is that is a whole culture. And some of you are from educational institutions, some of you are from big successful organizations, you will see this talk nice culture everywhere. Now, it's not that everybody's talking nice, but in the official meetings, that what happens. Outside at the coffee table, this is a different conversation. Right? The second culture that we see is what we call as a debate culture, where everybody has opinions and everybody gets stuck to their opinions. But in both the cultures, whether it's a talk nice culture or a debate culture, nobody's listening. So in the talk nice culture, nobody's even speaking except the leaders. In a debate culture, everybody's speaking, but ultimately nobody's listening. So again, there's no productivity. So we do a lot of work on distinguishing these cultures for people and how do you transform them. So we train leaders and the people in the workshops to actually notice this culture and then be able to transcend that culture in the meeting itself. Okay, so that's the starting point. And then, of course, it's a whole journey. And when we can keep talking about it. Okay. Thanks, everybody, Dr. Anand and Devang and Dr. Shivkumi for these questions. We are coming to the end of the session. We got around approximately 12 more minutes to go. So we're going to take some questions. But before that, I'll also let you know that we have been doing a lot of workshops on this. So we have an upcoming workshop, an online one-day upcoming workshop, which is on 20th of January, 20th January. And we also have a workshop coming in person, which is on 2nd and 3rd February, which is in Ahmedabad, which is in collaboration with your sister organization, Ahmedabad Management Association. So if Bangalore Management Association wants to collaborate with AMA, we can help you do that. And otherwise, of course, we can have separate workshops in the future for BMA, or we can also have, we do also have a lot of separate workshops for individual organizations. Okay. And this is part of our OD work. We start with culture and communication, and then we build further on it. Okay. Thank you so far. And if you have any questions, comments, or anything that you want us to respond on, we'll use the next 5-7 minutes for that.